Hello there. You looking for me? No? Fabian? Yeah, we can hear you, yeah. Sounds good.
From a workshop in Bordeaux to ultimate fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed with your team's identity in mind. Force Ultimate, built to perform, made to last. Gear up now at forceultimate.com.
Welcome back to the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2025. We're here in the Open Division, last round of the day. It is the crossover game, better referred to as a quarterfinal. It was Italy versus Czech Republic. It should be a juggernaut game. Liam Grant alongside John Doherty for the call today. And things heating up here in the late evening game. Italy maybe not expecting to be in this position. Czech Republic fighting hard to get into that semi-final. Should be a real great game. How are you getting on, John?
Not too bad now. Looking forward to this game, and tiniest bit of nerves, obviously, as living in the Czech Republic. I know a couple of these players, and I'm hoping that they can end up having a really good game here against a very tough Italian team who maybe feel a bit unfortunate to just be in this game rather than straight through to the semis, as they had a universe point loss. I think it was against Belgium, and other than that, they would have been here. The Czechs, on the other hand, maybe to some degree, they might feel even a bit fortunate to be here. They had a very tough group game, day to start. They played the two teams that they ended up in a three-way tie with, and in the last 5 minutes of their game today, they were in a situation where they could have potentially been knocked out had one team scored one more point in a game. But as we're seeing here, the Italian results, they only had that 11-10 point to the Belgians. So the Italians would be coming into this as the favourites. And the Czechs here, I think what you'd be hoping for is that they can have a strong start and make this a very competitive game.
Yeah, chatting to Taro Laffy before the game, they had a chance to win against Belgium. But looking at the Czech Republic's run to the quarterfinal here, a loss against France, 15-12 loss. That was, a good result against a strong French team. Universe point loss against Switzerland, but they don't advance in this situation. Big win against Germany for Czech Republic, 13-12. So Italy definitely favourites going into this matchup, but they did lose that universe point against Belgium, and that's why they're in this situation.
Yeah, both these teams here in this exact game by the smallest of margins. One more point for Belgium in a game, or for Italy in a game, they would have gone through. One more point or one less point in the last round for the Czechs, and they could have been knocked out. So Czechs maybe hoping they had a slightly easier game than this. Maybe they thought they had the potential for what they thought were better matchups for them, but they could maybe count themselves a little fortunate to get here. And again, should be hopefully a great game. Now that we're here at the business end of the tournament in the Open Division.
So we are moments away from the opening pull. Fantastic stuff, both sides. And the opening pull is up. Czech Republic in white, starting on offense. Italy in the classic blue. Bit of a side stack here to start things off for Czech Republic, but have to go through the handlers for now. Let's see what they can do with the first possession.
Yeah, Lepsi, one of the main handlers here, is going to he shoots deep straight away.
At a poor decision from the Czech Republic. Give Italy the first break chance of the game. Alessandro looking to go backwards. Some good defense though from Czech Republic so far. Nice up the line shot from Alessandro again, and they punch it in, and that is a break to start things off for the dominant Italian side.
Yeah, I think they're just the Czechs. I think they are going to have to rely on that deep game, and Radek Lepsi there with the deep shot and not able to get the height on it to Maciej Zaluska, who's one of the best deep receivers in this tournament, no doubt. Whenever I play against him in the Czech Republic, it seems like anytime I'm in the air against him, I might as well just give up. So that's going to be two key players on their O-line, Lepsi and Zaluski. Still struggle a bit with the Czech ones. But yeah, they're two of the key players, and the Czechs are going to need better connections from those two, especially if they want to keep this game close. Kind of a disaster start for them, really. I think the Czechs do need a strong start here if they're going to have any chance of beating this really strong Italian team.
So first blood to the Italians, the Azzurri, as they're often referred to. And I think they're coming into this one all guns blazing, the Italians. I think they'll be disappointed in themselves for losing that universe point game to Belgium. Had the disc, I think, several times outside the end zone to win it. Couldn't do it. They've given themselves an extra game, but I think a bit of a chip on their shoulder now. And again, yeah, Czech Republic a little bit shocked to see Italians in this game for the quarter, but kind of lucky to make it through. It was Switzerland with the same win-loss record and knocked out of the tournament, so maybe lucky to have the opportunity to fight for a semi-final berth. And again, quite flat here on the marks from Italy. There comes the deep shot. That's going to be a sky ball. Two lads underneath it and swatted away by the smaller Italian man. That's brilliant defense from Peludo. Riccardo Peludo. Oh, it's going to be discussed if it's a foul or not.
Yeah, Toulouse under it there, one of the main O-line players in this team. Felt there was a bit too much contact for him to have a chance from it, and Maciej Zaluski was the one who sent the hook to him. And again, a bit of a float ball. It's kind of one of those ones that I imagine you can see why the Italians will be frustrated at the call, but again, you could argue it was just boxing out, but some players maybe feel sometimes it's a bit too much, so that's one of those where
it was quite aggressive under the disc there, and that is Toulouse D.
I can't even say my girlfriend's name, and we have a 2-year-old child together, so people, hopefully the Czechs will forgive me for my inability to pronounce the names of the players on the fields, but that's why we have you here, Liam, the professional with the names. You'll be speaking Czech faster than me after this game, maybe.
Well, Toulouse D definitely had a fantastic performance at the U24 World Championships in Logroño with that really good Czech mixed side back in the open division now. And can't say I know a whole lot of these Czech teams, but I do know Toulouse D, and his sister definitely overshadows him a bit on the international stage, Toulouse
yeah.
But he's not the biggest man, but you're trying to use him as a deep receiver here. Going upwind was always going to be a big ass. This one's going to be contested.
Yeah, I do feel whenever I play against an Italian team, you're not going to usually beat them for skills, so you're going to rely a bit more on that athletic ability in deep games to take the skill out of the game somewhat.
Zaluski tries it again, this time to a different receiver, arching away, well gathered in with one hand. I believe that's Verdebic.
Yeah, Verbeek again. He's one of the FUI players. He plays his European season with the 3SB team, and another one of these key players on the team. He's a bit younger. It's his last year's on juniors, and another kind of key player and a receiver for them there. And you can see Zaluski, one of the players there shooting it deep. He's very good on both sides of the disc. I had him on the European season last year, and he's definitely a player with a lot of potential and very good on both sides of the disc, and good guy all around. Sometimes it wasn't the most enjoyable season with everyone on that team last year, and he was one of the more coachable guys I was dealing with, so good to see him out here on both sides of the disc. One for the future as well, given how tall he is.
Zalewski with his 23rd assist of the tournament. One of the leaders in the division. Definitely not afraid to put it. And chasing it down was Verbeek, who, that was the 10th goal. So you can see Czechs definitely like to hook it.
Yeah. I think, like I said, it's one or two of the coaches were chatting to me a bit before the game. I said offensively, you're going to kind of have to figure it out yourselves. I suggested one or two things I think that it might suit the Czechs on defense to try and do, but I think it's somewhat common sense that there's a certain style of play you don't want the Italians to just do against you. So if you're going to try and beat them, it's try and put them into an area maybe they have a bit less experience, and we'll see if the Czechs are able to do that. But coming out what looks like a zone here.
Coming out with a zone on Italy's first offensive point, and kind of aggressive zone, standing behind the player with the disc, essentially trying to put pressure on its swing, but throwing through the eye of the needle was something the Italians are so good at doing. And there is the first look at Alberto Laffi, who I'm surprised is still eligible for this division. He's so good. Totti wearing the number 10 jersey really reminds me of Francesco Totti, the famed AC Roma player, and Totti scoring goals, living up to the name.
Yeah, I think they're great work by the Italians, and I think that kind of highlights what I don't want to really see as a slightly biased towards the Czechs in this game. They have the right idea. They put on a zone to create some pressure, but I think their best chance is just saying we got to just, especially when the Italians are playing upwind, is overload that handler space and make the Italians shoot over it. If you let the Italians play through the zone, you're not going to get too many turnovers here. Czechs not necessarily known for having much wind in their ultimate scene, so they're going to need to force the Italians to throw some more overheads, throw some more deep shots, and put them more into a situation where the Czechs might actually be the team that have a slight advantage in terms of the overall deep game and aerial ability. But small bit of pressure applied there by the Czechs. They were close to 1 or 2, but they're going to need to do a little bit better than that if they want to get some breaks. But not the worst start. They were close to 1 or 2. So.
See Coach Laffi issuing out the orders for the Italian side. His younger brother Alberto Laffi, definitely one of the stars of this U20 side. Arturo and Alberto, both wearing the famed number 13 jersey. I like Tommaso Totti there. Did a bit of a soccer celebration, going for the too cold Parma look, and now taking it from the front of their own end zone, the Czechs. And a bit of his junky zone here from Italy. There's a man deep, but too far away, I think, for the play for Czechs to risk it. Now with Maciek. Back to Žižka. Going from side to side here. The handler's doing a bit of give-go. Flusty. Now back with Žižka, and good zone offense from Czech. Happy to walk it up. There was options deep, but not taking the bait, and Žižka going every other pass here. Now the zone tightens up a bit. Looking to be a bit more aggressive on the resets. This is kind of a 2-3-2, I want to call it, from the Italians, forcing middle. That middle of the three being quite up and aggressive. Something we've seen lots of Italian teams do, several iterations. Certainly the U24 Open team busted out this zone every now and again. And being aggressive here, both sides, not afraid of it, a little bit of contact. Slusty trying to run a give-go. Definitely keen to get his feet moving. Right in the contact there again. Look, he's trying to inject some pace into this scenario, and downfield, not a lot of options. I think the big men just happy to stay out of the way, but I think they need to provide something. Oh, and a double D there. And there was a foul on the field, a foul called, kind of away from the play.
Yeah, I think perhaps he's saying maybe it happened a little earlier, and that perhaps he might have provided a different option than the one they ended up taking. I think this is, if you're the Italians, you're really happy with this point because I think you've kind of seen something from the Czechs there where there was one or two times where maybe they got a bit of movement going, but once you stop that initial flow, they basically just go backwards and sideways, and I think that's kind of a problem with all the Czech teams. Is they don't have, I would say, the as much experience in the handler set to be able to break through these zones so easily. And you could even see at the start of the point there, one of their players basically ran straight to the other end zone, and it's not realistic for anyone to be able to throw that. So downwind, I think they're going to be much more dangerous against the zone, but upwind, they're really going to, I think they're going to struggle a bit. And they did have moments there, but the players still discussing the outcome of this call. And for me, it depends on how long ago before the throw had happened. Obviously, you could say it didn't affect the exact play that happened, but it could have affected the options that were taken because the player stopped moving in the handler space.
I think that's the discussion here. Oliveri got a great D, got a touch on it twice, but discussion as to whether it affected play, and perhaps the Czech player would have provided an easier option is maybe what he's suggesting, and kind of a get out of jail free card for the Czechs on that occasion.
Yeah, I think if it was a downfield cutter in this situation, you'd be saying a definite turnover. And when it comes to it being someone who's basically would have been the most obvious dump choice, it does depend when it happened. But yeah, I agree. The Czechs may be a little bit fortunate here because the option they did take was maybe not the best one, and good work by the Italian defender to get a hand on it.
Lusty injecting some pace into this offense. Doesn't like to wait around. It is a very good defense, though, and Italy have definitely slowed them down, but now transitioning to match at the halfway line here. And there's been plenty of contact in this possession.
Yeah, I think we can expect that for the rest of these games. Two of these teams, very physical teams. The Czechs, from my experience with them, very happy to get stuck in. So if this game gets close near the end, expect a lot of athletic plays. All in good spirit. I don't think there's anything overly aggressive about it. But when you get two teams like this, it can get a little bit aggressive around the disc.
Let's see what Czech can do in this match situation. Putting up a sky ball and ripped out of the skies, taken down from the top shelves. Zaluski doing it again for the Czechs, and he wasn't necessarily that free, but if you put it up nice and high for him, he's free up there in the skies over Slovakia.
Yeah, not too many players I feel I've ever played against in my career where I'm just thinking in my head FFS when the disc goes up and he's beside me. But I remember a couple of years ago I got the better of him in the air, and I told him, man, you need to just go and attack him more. There's no way I should ever beat you. And since then, he's been absolutely just making me look less than average anytime we've been against each other going deep. So great grab by him there. And again, nice to see him with a spike. It shows the Czechs are up for this. He's one of the more calmer players on this Czech side, and getting that upwind after struggling a little bit against the zone, maybe a bit fortunate, but good to see them getting it again. I think it's key for the Czechs to stay close at the start of this.
So nice upwind hold from the Czechs. A clean hold. There was a little blip in the middle there, but they got the disc back thanks to a foul call. And in the background, we have that other quarterfinal going on, GB versus Germany. We'll have an eye on that one a little bit as well. Laffy, so good in the air. Was really disappointed not to see him playing in the U24 final. That Italian side lost to Belgium on Universe Point. Even though they're here in the quarterfinals and didn't get the top of the pool, I still expect to see Italy in the final. I think they could very well be there, John.
Yeah, I believe they'd be playing France if they were to win this game. French, I haven't actually seen too much of them, but the Italians, from the little bits I've seen, have looked good. Just that one lost to Belgium by 1 point.
Now a deep shot, a nice arcing blade, and it is Tommaso Totti doing it again. And we see some chest bumping going on, and the Azzurri from Italy are pumped up right now. And I like that arcing deep shot, just not allowing it to sit in the air. You don't want to do that against the potentially bigger Czech side, so just a really accurate throw.
Yeah, Czechs maybe feeling a little frustrated. They conceded there, but I think the actual shot they saw thrown, it was, if the defender's a bit closer, he's going to get a bid on it. The throw gets there because the defender wasn't able to keep up. But in terms of the throw being made, I would much rather see that being how the Italians work half the field rather than how they worked the first half of the field, where it was just a series of underpasses where the Czechs, maybe they were close on one or two, but the only throw there I think was close to it having any chance of being a turnover was maybe that last one if it had dropped a little short earlier, but it did get there. But again, I'd be okay with seeing this if I was the Czech coach. I do think they need to adjust it a bit more and make that be the first option and the second option that the Italians do, because not too many players are going to be able to throw this 2/3 of the field here upwind. It's not a very heavy breeze, but maybe you can see on the other field there's one or two flags blowing, so you can see there's enough of a breeze that there's not too many players on the field that are going to be able to just throw whatever they want in these conditions playing upwind. So the Czechs are the ones who have to match it now and see if they can do it. And perhaps they have one or two of the biggest throwers in this game. I haven't seen too much of the Italians hooking, but I know some of the Czech players are capable of throwing into this. So they do have the deep game option in this point.
Arcing blading pull, well fielded by the Czechs, and it is a zone again. This one looking a little different. Maybe a 1-3-3 if you want to call it that. And they like to mix up their defensive looks, the Italians, keep the Czechs guessing. Czechs did very well against the last zone offense, and John Doherty beckoning the deep player for the Czechs. Ivan, oh, that is Kubesh.
Yeah, one of my 3SB players who I often tell, just stand deep against the zone, I'll get it, yeah. Maybe a little too deep in this point.
And now a blade is just underthrown. You can see they're trying to split the deep there, but it's not executed well. Difficult on the upwind. The Italians, as usual, waste no time driving down the field. Now with Boni. And a shot for the end zone, getting a horizontal. The big spike to boot. Second break of the game for Italy. They're ready, showing their worth here in this quarterfinal matchup.
Yeah, the Czechs there just unable to hit that crossfield shot. I do think the player was open, but just very underthrown. And I do think those are some of the options the Czechs are going to have to take. We did see in the last point when they were playing upwind, they were capable of working it through the zone, but sometimes they got very stuck and ended up going backwards. So it's just the way it is. Not to say not exactly unfortunate for the Czechs, but if it comes down to which team's going to be more drilled and have more just pure disc skills in these conditions, and it's clearly the Italian team, and the Czechs, again, it's just going to have to be a game where they're just going to have to take some shots and get a bit of luck going their way if they want to come out on top in this game. I basically not said it to him, but like when I was chatting with the coaches, like if you just try and play ultimate the same way against the Italians that they do against you, you're not going to end up coming out with a win. So I don't think the Czechs really care about it being a close game and losing. They want to go for the win, and some of those shots are the ones they're going to have to take. And I think perhaps the Italians maybe know it as well, and that's why they're coming in with the more aggressive zone, forcing some of those throws.
You do feel like those shots have to come off for the Czech Republic if they are going to win this game. It was a little bit forced, that one. So back out on offense now again, 4-2 down, Czech Republic. We really need to start scoring the majority of their offensive points. Giving up 2 early breaks here. Zalushki, shot to the middle, foul call. There was definitely some contact there. Looks like it might be accepted from Benedetti. And yeah, they're definitely not shy of a little bit of contact as we have another look at that. A little bit of contact in the back. I'd like to see it as accepted foul. Now with Zishka, he's had a lot of touches so far. Deep shot is there. And you can see sagging in the lanes, the Italians doing well to put pressure, particularly on Zaluski. When he has the disc, you see the 2 Italian handler marks sagging in the lane. They don't want him to throw deep. They've identified him as the big hooker on this team. But still marching down the field. In power position now. Falta.
Back with Verdovic. And they continue around the house. Now, this is a good offense here from Czech. Zishka forced to dump it backwards. And very tough against these Italian marks. And they've gone backwards twice now in a row, the Czechs. Eventually breaking the mark, which has been a struggle for them at times. Nice weighted swing pass. Had to be forgiving. That one, not so much.
Yeah, again, just constant pressure there by the Italians, and I think that the Czech player just kind of felt that the pressure was mounting and saw his player wide open and just felt that he had to put it out of range of the defender from having a chance. And unfortunately, he overthrows Zalewski. And I think, you know, if there's one player you're maybe going to underthrow it against or float it up a bit too, I think that would have been the player. But again, I think it's just for the Czechs. They won't be, as many of their players just won't be used to playing at this intensity. So
just saw a helicopter there. Pretty sure that's Odi Andrea Forland, the EUF president, was just flown in for a game or two now. Now heading out again. Good to have the president here. Guessing he's cheering for Italy, but can't be sure. We'll see. And potential call in the field. Maybe looks like a pick call.
Yeah, and again, the Italians here just grinding the unders. I know they had one deep shot so far, but I think if the Czechs are going to start to put more pressure on, they need to just get more under and just the wind has died down a bit, but I just don't see where they're going to get the turns. Yes, they might get one or two close ones, or they might get one or two, but to win this game, they're going to need to generate a lot of pressure. And I think the best way to do that against the Italians is to push them more deep.
Teasing one out into space. Contested, but held on to by Matua Ixa. And now shooting to end zone. Some fancy footwork. Keeps his feet in, and Italy running away with this game. Another break on the board. Great awareness on the side of the end zone. And Italians just too good for this game right now.
Yeah, and you can see there, even when I'm talking about that first throw back in off it, the Italians had to throw a disc maybe a third of the field, and it was good pressure by the Czech defender. If a disc had floated a little bit more, he potentially could get a block on it. But once they get that first pad off, you could see the next two. They're pretty quick at once they get it going. So I think that first pass off the stoppage is what you're looking to take away as the positive in that game as the Czechs. And if you can get a couple more of those, and the game is close near the end and the nerves start creeping in, that's when you can get probably, and given the current start to the game by the Italians, I think that's the best the Czechs could hope for this situation. But also, it's very capable with this Italian team that if they get one or two more breaks, this game could get out of hand very quickly. I did think, obviously, coming into it, that you would give the Italians the edge to take this by a couple of points based on games so far. So obviously we don't want to see that. Even the neutrals want to see a close game here, but the Czechs are kind of very much an all or nothing team. If they get it close near the end, it could be there, but if they feel like they've missed their chance early, this could kind of get out of hand. So let's see how they respond here with their offensive line back out there again.
And Germany up 5-1 on Great Britain in the other crossover game. I was going to say that one I expect to be closer, but technically not. This is the closer of the two.
I would have thought as well that one would be closer. I might have even favored GB. I've seen the Germans play, and they've been good at times, but I've also seen some messy play. So maybe we'll see a bit of a comeback on both fields. That's what the neutrals will be hoping for right now.
Are the neutrals referring to Switzerland? Because they're out already. They're knocked out.
Yeah, they missed out today by 1 point. Had they scored one more point in their last game, they would be the team playing over there instead of the Germans right now. But that's the margins we're talking about in the open division this year. It's a lot of really competitive teams.
Yeah, unfortunate a bit, the Swiss, that it isn't, 4 quarterfinals as opposed to the bye in 2. So back with this zone defense for the Italians. I think it's almost looking like a 3-2-2 at the moment, but I think the Italians adjust to what's happening behind them. Slusty as well just hardly holds on to the disc for a split second. He's on the ground there, but still, as he's getting up, manages to release and push him downfield, and really emulating his sister's quick give-go play. Slusti and Slusta, and left on an island there all by himself. Slusti, I know he's fast, but where was the Italian defenders? And that's much better from Czechs. I kind of like that when Slusti, if it is his own, Slusti take over and just, he likes that gigbo action. I think a lot of the other players on the O-line for Czech like to hold it and hook it, and it's very difficult to do that against the zone. So maybe bringing Slusti back into the handler space and getting some momentum going.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's one of the more likely players, just in terms of skill level as well and experience in the game. He's playing a couple of years, and obviously I'm sure he hears nonstop about his sister, and he obviously, I'd imagine, as her brother, he probably watches a lot of her games and realizes how effectively she gets things done. So it's kind of easy to just naturally copy a little bit of that. And again, he's a very explosive player, and he makes some massive plays. And if the Czechs are going to have a chance in this game, they want to see more points where he plays like that. And again, he might be a player that probably will have to play a lot of the points in this game, but much better point there from the Czechs again. And the wind at the level it is it favors them. I think they can do okay against such zones. If it was windier, I think they'd really struggle, but it's favorable conditions right now, and I don't think they're going to struggle as much as they potentially would against the zone on a more windy day.
So Czech Republic trying out a zone now. Very passive kind of three-person wall. Italy just taking what's given to them. Italy just taking what's given to them. Going for a spicy hammer. That's not really part of the Italian playbook. Laffy got a hand to it, but came in pretty hot.
Yeah, it seemed like the player was free, but it did seem a little forced. But
and this one, waste no time. Czech Republic's sending it deep, and these are the battles they have to win. Laffy goes up too early, but taken down. Brilliant break for the Czech Republic. Sobotka getting it done. This is his 5th goal of the tournament, but what a time to get it. And I like that from Czech Republic. They picked it up quick and it's launched it straight away.
Yeah, I think that those exact last 30 seconds of play is exactly what you need to be seeing if you're the Czech team. You force the Italians to throw maybe a somewhat uncharacteristic throw in these conditions. They just overthrow a player who was free. I'm not going to complain about the option to throw it to him, but it's not the default option for the Italians. And quick pick up and throw deep. And again, the defender, Laffy, I think he just had to go because the receiver had position, and great patience by the receiver. So many times you see players go up there early and mess it up, and he just catches it. And wasn't the cleanest, but again, the Czech can't really. They don't want this to be a clean game. The more this game is like, the more it suits the Czechs. So Italians are going to know they're capable of making better decisions than maybe that one, but.
I think you're right, John. Again, maybe bring out a zone and being very aggressive and say, hey, try the overheads. I think that's a good idea. Try and bait them into that. And then I don't mind either from the D-line picking it up and jacking it if the option's on. Laffy was in hot pursuit on defense, but a lot of the matchups you maybe favor Czech Republic to win the battle in the air.
Yeah, I agree. If they don't win the battles in the air, I don't think they win many of the battles. So let's see if they can get something similar here going again, or if the Italians are going to be a bit more patient here.
PV. Unless they change up their line a small bit, Italy. Definitely have a lot of depth this Italian side. Now back with Nicolo Pivi. Going around the house now and moving the disc. Vandelli. Dangerous throw, but one man that stayed out there is Laffy. Off to the races now, Italy. Some good give-go action. Travel called. Stops the flow momentarily, but not for too long. Vandelli. Peavy. Throwing in motion. And this line showing how to play some good zone offense. And there comes a spicy number, but this time it pays off for the Italians. That high arcing blade, and it just maybe wasn't as far and going downwind a little bit easier to execute. So Italy get the clean hold.
Yeah, clean hold there. Good. It might have looked a bit close in the end, but I think the defender is always going to have a tough time getting on that one. And again, if there's the Czech coach there, again, they probably can't go flat out every time, especially on the slight downwind, because it's not that the Italians aren't going to be able to throw these. And throwing downwind, I think the deep shots are going to be easier. But again, I do feel it was overall a bit too easy for the Italians to swing it there. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the best, what the Czech zone that they've practiced is, but basically, unless there's at least one overhead in the point, I think you've got to say you've got to do a bit more, or one deep shot. There wasn't one pass there that was more than maybe 10 or 15 meters. And again, we've seen already that they can get the turns and they can score, but they're going to have a tough time getting the turns if they keep letting the Italians play it basically like you would practice a zone at training. And if you just said no overheads, because the only turnover by the O-line so far was the blade.
Just too easy for Italy on that possession, but Czech Republic have got a break in the board and they stay within touching distance. Italy are up 2 breaks, don't you feel like Czech redo, maybe trying to get another break back before half. Italy be coming out on offense in the second half regardless. Pulling upwind now. Czech starting with good field position. A nice undercut. They kick things off to Luski. I think they're happy to force him under and perhaps stop him hooking. Let's just minimize his influence. Foul called. And Slusti does not look happy with the contact from Oliveri. It's not the first time they discussed it. I think it's going to be back in with Maciek, as that foul didn't affect the play. Slusti puts the position and Oliveri picks it off. I think Slusti could have maybe turned and ran that one down. Maybe didn't need to throw himself so acrobatically at that one. So another chance for Italy to break here. Benedetti, oh, sensational! Slusti puts on his superhero cape and took flight earlier, didn't get it. The Czech Airlines are taking off now, though.
First one was just a test flight.
Brilliant from Slusti to win it back. I feel like they needed that one, Czech. If Italy broke again, it was going to be very difficult. That's a nice reset. There was a bit of confusion, but some nice touch on the throw makes it very forgiving and ran down. Good read under the high disc from Karl Videbik. Karl, the younger of the two brothers. I think it's Verbic. Is it Verbich or Verbic?
I think it's Verbic, but again, I'm, as I've already said, not the best with the names, so.
Oh, a dangerous pass. Not sure that was the intended receiver, but it is Karl Verbic now. Looking for the reset, managed to get it off. The continuation shot is there. That one low and scooped off the ground. Debate whether it was up or down, and
yeah, it's going to be a tricky one to tell there unless they have some video from there. Obviously, if I see, usually I'm going to get a look at it here, but I think it's going to be very hard to tell. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to tell from the shot we have here, but
that was one look at there. It looked up to me, actually, on that first look. We'll see if we get another look at it now. And this camera angle might difficult to say. Like he definitely got near to this. Did he maintain control of possession? It was underneath him. It's not clear. It's not clear.
Yeah, we had an Italian player looking at the screen and he's not pointing down. So to me, I'd say I'm happy to say it's probably up if they're not straight away calling it down, or else we have a very honest player coming to look at the video.
It's not clear and obvious from that video that it is up, but he definitely makes contact before the disc hits the ground. Whether he maintained possession or control throughout that body roll,
no one can tell.
We can't tell from that situation. I do think actually Italy in that situation should trust the Czech player and maybe call it a goal, but going back doesn't seem like the worst resolution. And Czechs fighting for their lives here. No debate about this one. That's going to be a goal for Czech Republic. That's used from Lepsi. Gets it this time.
Yeah, Zilisti to getting it to Alepsi there to the main leaders on this team in terms of experience and players that are on that O-line with Zalusti as well. Again, we talk about maybe a skill gap in terms of, I think, in terms of the Italians having the advantage, but there are a couple of Czech players on this team that are playing a long time. It's not a case of they're completely outmatched. If you were to put the best 7v7 here, I think you would normally have a very close game. It's more slightly when you get to the depth of the roster where things can maybe favor the Italians a bit more. And again, in these conditions, the skill edge is somewhat cancelled out a small bit because we can get a look there at some bodies throwing themselves around.
Yeah, both sides throwing themselves around like a big sack of spuds. That time we see Slusti getting it that time.
Yeah, maybe
So that shotgun pass that was contested, but they did get it on the second go. This time it was Radic Lepshi. That one again, hard to call.
Yeah, and on this deep point here, I think one or two Czech players that normally play on the O-line being brought across, perhaps trying to get this upwind break.
Yeah, you feel they could redo with a break, if not two, before a half, because if Italy go into the lead at halftime, they'll get the little mini break. Laffy gesticulating what he wants. There's another shot. Bit of Mackline there, ends up in the hands of number 9, Peavy. Don't think he was the intended receiver.
Definitely not. And I think there the Czechs would be pretty happy with how that point started. The Italians started very deep, and all the Czech players were easily able to stand under. And you can see there when they were forced to throw that bigger throw.
Peavy keeps it and goes for a touch forehand. That was a delicious throw. That kind of IO forehand arcing across the field. An exquisite throw. And Peavy ended up with a disc surprisingly, and no hesitation to bring out that creative forehand.
Yeah, again there, I think you can see again there if you're the Czechs. Anytime you're forcing the Italians into the longer throws, maybe not that one that was thrown very nicely for the assist. Really nice inside-out flick. Made it look easy. It's not an easy throw to do that with the inside flick, but the first one again, that's where the Czechs are going to hope to get a bit of joy. Anytime we're forcing the Italians not to hit unders, 10, 15 meter unders, it can be viewed as somewhat of a success for the Czechs. But the Italians, they're showing that they're capable of throwing the deep game as well. It was really nice throw into the corner and gave the defender no chance. Threw his receiver wide open.
That's another look back at Slusty's layout from the previous point. They've been fighting for their holes, need to fight for a break. They're back on offense now. Have to score this one, Czechs. Do you feel?
On the other field, we can see that it's 6-5 Germany now, so GB have turned it on a little bit. And here, to some extent, the Czechs have brought it back another bit. I think we see GB celebrating. It looks like they've potentially got it back level. Unless there's someone predicting the future here on the website.
Does look like GB just went on a big run there. Both teams going on 5-1 runs. I think they're all tied but sixes, which is a little bit more what we expected from that other quarterfinal.
Yeah, critical point here now in this game as well. I think the Czechs really need to get this one. If they get broken here again and Italians take 8-5 half, it would be not a good situation for the Czechs to go into the second half with.
So Czech now already at the halfway line. Pressure on the reset. But Zizka has been so good, and Slusty get ground stripped. He took off and had the disc in his hand for a moment. Boni with a big mullet for Italy. He's got the sleeves rolled up as well. Pisani looking back for the reset, and Gusi runs a little 1-2. See what the Italians can do here, trying to break the mark. Eventually gets it to Laffy. Oh, a dangerous throw. Well gathered up by Oliveri. Looking for Laffy to do a lot of hard work here. Lefty dish. Dangerous pass. Juggled around the end zone. Bit of a circus performance there.
Ping pong going on there, and
Just a low throw for Slusty. He's there. His receiver, he's got to put it up. Yes, he does. And mingling this all the way into the end zone. Brilliant from the Czech Republic. That's Zizka, who's had a stormer of a game. Milked that one like a dairy cow all the way into the end zone. Italians had a chance to break for a half there. Was that a Czech break? No, it was a
Czech hold, yeah, and I
hold.
think there, if you thought it was narrow margins that the Czechs kept themselves in the tournament in the last game, I think perhaps there you can see even tighter margins. I'm not sure I could see the Czechs coming back from 8-5 down and having Italians come out in offense in the second half, but we see a timeout here now by the Czechs, and they can obviously load their line here, knowing if the Italians score, they get that 5-minute break at halftime, but no doubt they're going to have to come out with a power line here, and might be interesting to see if they go with the zone or if they decide to just put out their best 7 and say, hey, let's just try and get stuck into the Italians here. And maybe the Italians, obviously they know what the timeout and the situation here, they're going to be expecting something from the Czechs, but they might not have been expecting a hard, tight defense. And I think if I was the Czechs, that's probably what I would look to do here, is get our best 7 on and play tight. Maybe still force deep, but I'd be surprised if I saw the Czechs coming out here with a zone, or at least a zone that doesn't transition early.
Yeah, big opportunity now for the Czechs. Lots of Italians here enjoying this quarterfinal matchup. Italy in the driver's seat, but Czech hanging on in there, and they've called this timeout as a way to rest some of their O-line players and bring them on to this next line, as you said, John, expecting a power line. The Italian women have looked like the best team in the women's division. Italy mixed already have booked their tickets to semis. I think everyone's expecting for all 3 Italian teams to make it to the semis now, but Czech aren't going out without a fight.
Yeah, so again, even in recent seasons, this Czech team is much more prepared, I would say, than previous Czech teams. It's been a long time since I've seen a Czech under 20s team being competitive in the open division. So it's great to see them back here and to see them in this game. They've had 1 or 2 unfortunate mistakes. Obviously, the Italians have had them as well. But again, the Czechs, coach even told me maybe that they felt this was probably the worst matchup they could have got in the quarterfinals. So again, if they go into the second half here feeling like they're in with a shot, I think they'd have taken that if you told them that this morning, because this morning they weren't even sure they'd get to this situation. It was somewhat in their control, but also somewhat out of it, given they had to play the French. But you see here, looks like most of the players are mostly a power line.
And the atmosphere electric now during this point. Both teams really riled up for it. Getting high in the stall count. Dangerous throw inside. 2 hands on the disc. Totti saying he got there first. Signals for video referee.
We'll have a look here now.
Players are welcome to look at the replay, but it's going to be very hard to tell from the replays we have. Let's see if we get another look at it.
Yeah, they're swarming around us here, but I think maybe the players on the field are just going to end up resolving this. Yeah, they've retracted, so it doesn't really matter now what the people on the screen see. The players are retracted, so we're going to get back to the play here, and hopefully the Czechs can get back off and offer some sideline help to their team and shouts rather than standing here looking at the screen.
Yeah, difficult to see with the bright sun and the monitor we have, but you are allowed using the rules. No debate there about that catch, PV. Now, knocking on the doorstep a half, and brilliant from their goal scoring machine. Tommaso Totti gets it done for the Azzurri. Living up to that Totti number 10 jersey.
Yeah, and again, they did well there. Great reception by the receiver to hold on to that. But I think you also got to take a little positive away from it from the Czechs. It's the first time they've had a really tight matchup on an undercut. So again, obviously the Italian player, if they catch it at the same time, gets their first. But a positive end, I would say, even though they didn't get the break, they got close, and that's sometimes what you want. So see if they can keep that going in the second half.
And we're going to take a break here for halftime, folks. Don't go anywhere. Italy in the lead, 8-6 over the Czech Republic.
From a workshop in Bordeaux to Ultimate Fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed.
Welcome back here to the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2025. Coming to you live from Trnava in Slovakia. We're here in the Open Division de facto quarterfinal. Italy versus Czech Republic. This game going to script so far is Italy up 8-6 now, coming out on offense in the second half. Liam Grant alongside John Doherty. Very flat force from the Italians, been able to hook through it. This looks like absolute money. Is his name James? Because that was a giant peach from the Italians to kick off the second half. One pass score, John.
Yeah, for first pass score. No, again, obviously, I always say it with my slight Czech bias. It's not what you want to see as a Czech fan, but again, at least maybe the game plan is make it till he shoot deep and show that they can do it. So I'd still feel worse as a Czech supporter if I saw 3 unders and they grind it up. So making them shoot it deep makes them puts it more into where the Czechs are closer. And again, if the throw is just on the money, it doesn't matter what you do. The other team's going to score. And clinical offense by the Italians there. And again, even this game, the exact same situation that the other game took to half. Both games went to half. GB Germany and the Czech Italy game. Both the exact same situation in both games where a team broke to take half and they took half 8-6. And again, the Czechs here, it feels like every time the Czechs offense goes out on the line, it's make or break whether they are going to get this score or not to stay in the game. I think if the Italians get one more break, I think to me, it would be game over.
So Italy come out hot in the second half. Exceptional start from them, and now mounting the climb for the Czechs, down 9-6. And Germany did take half, 8-6 over Great Britain. Looks like that one's kicked off again. So, yeah, this game going to script. Possibly people expecting GB to win that Germany game. Who was your favorite going into it, John?
I haven't really seen GB playing, but I still would have thought up until I saw their result against Italy, where they lost by I think about 6 points. I would have favoured them. I haven't been overly like super impressed. Haven't seen the Germans, given I thought when they lost to the Czechs that maybe they weren't going to be as good as I thought they would be. But again, it's a wide open division if you maybe take away the top 2 or 3 teams, to be honest.
Slusti slicing and dicing. I love this quick give-go action to gain those extra yards.
A little behind the back action there.
Dribbling down the field. Lusty beckons his defender to go back a few yards. He's not giving an inch here. Able to get it off the round backhand. Not a lot of options there, but a good around break to open the field. Zaluski. He has his eyes for the end zone, zips one across the field. Zushka. Looking for Tlusty, and that Jimmy Mickle outside in flick. That was a low one from Tlusty. You can see he's not exactly celebrating that throw. It ended up working. It was a little lower than he wanted it to be, but good hands nonetheless from the Czechs. That was a good clean hold.
It was actually about 4 foot off the ground. It's just Maciej Zaluski is just so tall that it looks like it's really low. So, no, just a really good reaction grab by him. And I think he's one of the players you'd want having to make one of those grabs. Again, with the Czechs, I feel every time they see something that's wide open, they're going to want to feel like they have to take advantage of it straight away. And again, I'm glad they got that one because, again, it was a good offensive passage of play with them. And I think they opened the space well, and again the Italians putting them under pressure. So the Czechs are going to feel. I feel like they're going to be under pressure more often in this game, given I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, where they probably know themselves another break makes it very difficult. But also there's the element that they come into this game probably just saying, hey, everyone's kind of expecting the game to go a bit like this. We've nothing to lose, and if they can maybe get one break now and maybe another one a bit later, they're definitely going to be in contention if this is close near the end. But again, they have the hard part to do is to keep converting their 0 points, probably for the rest of the game.
Let's see what Czechs have for us on defense. Pretty easy so far for Italy. Now, Vandelli can't find his receiver. Big opportunity now for Czech Republic.
Yeah,
just need 3 breaks to win the game. This is the first opportunity in the second half.
Yeah, just a bit of an uncharacteristic drop by them there. The defender was somewhat close, but not super close. And
Zaluski is on the line. He stayed out there. So has Flusty. So very strong line. Oh, almost bobbled. But holding on and just staying alive in this game. You think Czechs have a really good chance of breaking here, as they have a very strong line out there. Good pressure from the Italian goal. Nice throw to open up the field. There's no continuation. There it is. Lusty was patient to make his move, and that is an upwind break and a massive moment for the Czech Republic.
Like you said, that's a huge break for the Czechs there, especially because they were somewhat gifted the possession. The Italian with a slight high release and a catch. They've been making much more difficult catches for the rest of this game, so a bit of a gift, but don't take anything away from the offense there. That's the Czechs D line, a couple of their O line players out there, of course, as you'd expect, probably for the rest of the game, but they've shown there that they can add a bit of Italian style play themselves, throwing some breaks, and not something I've seen too much from that many Czech teams, especially the junior age, where they're just breaking the mark there, some tight throws. And if they can show a bit more of that, like we said, a minute or two ago, if they could get one break kind of soon, I fancy their chances if they can keep it somewhat close near the end. And now they potentially can put a small bit of pressure on the Italians, who probably weren't, like, obviously you're never going to write off a team, but I think the Italians are the ones who are going to feel the pressure if this gets close near the end.
I think so. The expectations very much on the Italian side, and Arturo Laffi and the Italian coaches trying to settle this Italian O-line. Look, they have a cushion that they earned hard to get in that first half. We'll see how many of the Czech studs stay out there.
Pins him in the corner with this one. He's going to have to bring it up to the front corner. And this is basically the dream situation if I was a Czech fan, and if you can put the pull back there. It looked like it rolled out about less than a meter off the sideline is where they're going to be bringing this back in, I think.
Yeah, brilliant pull. Just a match defense, horizontal stack. We'll see what force it is. Looks like Mishka has crossed over from the O-line, but don't see Zaluski or Slusta out there. Or Slusti, I should say. A lot of pressure on the first throw, having to go sideways. Now inside their own end zone. An opportunity for Czech Republic to apply some pressure here. Up against the ropes now, the Italians, but do well to get out of their end zone. Pump fakes the deep shot. Create some space under. Force backhand from the Czechs. And just too easy for Italy to get free upfield. This one, a bit of a sky ball. Toddy's been so good at catching them, and nothing's changed there. Gets a bit of contact, but it's not going to bother that man. He tells him to calm down. He's too cool for this game.
Yeah, huge grab there, and again, the Italians doing so well there, stuck in their own end zone, get it out, get that deep shot off, and I think the one takeaway I'd take there, if I was the Czech coach there, I would absolutely be fuming with my defensive line that nobody gave an upshout to the defender, and he didn't even realize it was going there. He gets a like, again, a little bit late with the bid, but he didn't realize that this was thrown until it was on the way down, and that's just a completely wasted opportunity for the Czechs there. Just a simple thing, just shout the word up. I'm not biased enough in the commentary booth here that I'm going to shout it, but very frustrating there as if you're watching at home and from the Czechs' point of view, but obviously you're delighted if you're the Italians. That's a very difficult situation they got out of there.
And Tommaso Totti is channeling his inner Francesco Totti, the AS Roma player, one of the legends of Italian soccer, won a World Cup with the Italian side. Wouldn't be surprised to see him at the U24 level trying to win a World Championships. Irishman Evan Ferguson just gone to AS Roma. I think he's going to be wearing the number 10 jersey. Let's see if he can channel his inner Totti. So that was another opportunity for Czechs. You feel they had a bit on this there, but the Italians hold on to their 2-goal lead. But right back in this one, the Czechs. Verdebic. Dangerous throw. Nobody has eyesight on it. Oh, almost gathered up on the loose one, Zaluski, but just last-ditch awareness. Thinks about the deep shot. That one fumbled off the hands. Deep shot is there. He's going to put it up. Loses his hat, but can he retain it? This goes up too early. Oh, second effort. Brilliant balance and awareness as he spins around to make the block.
Yeah,
very.
Zaluski there, I don't think he realized how much of an advantage he had there up against his defender, and he goes up early, and this just doesn't come down. And I'll have to have a look at the replay there, but I think you got to say maybe it should just be a turnover. I think the Czech player just has to get that on the first one. Obviously, there was a foul call. I'm not even talking about that, but Czechs just kind of given an opportunity there.
Zaluski be disappointed in himself not to come down with it on the first look. I'm not sure if the foul call is on the second bit. As a few gather around to assess what happened here. Zaluski didn't really get position, misses it.
Yeah, unless he's saying the player stepped on his leg as he was maybe adjusting and he thought he had a second bid. It's
It looks like the turnover will stand, and definitely the Italian sideline stating it was clean. I pretty much I do agree with them. And really, Zalewski should have just caught it. I think that's what he'd be disappointed with. He had the height mismatch there. He'd back himself to take that one down. So a chance for Italy to break here and regain a comfortable lead. Fires one deep. Oh, sensational play from Italy. Turn on the jet boosters. He had no right to get that one. Oliveri, I think, again, putting the team on his back here. The Czech players left in the dust on that occasion.
Yeah, huge pit by the defender, but fantastic grab by the receiver there. I thought when the defender took flight, he was going to get a hand to it first, and then I see the Italians celebrating with it. We get another look at it here.
And you can see coming from behind, I believe that was Olivieri.
Yeah, and that one's just a bit of a killer for the Czechs. They probably should have had that score, and then they end up giving back the break they already got. Again, if they hadn't got that break a couple of moments ago, I would have said that one was probably putting this game beyond their reach. But because they did get the break a couple of minutes ago, I still think they're in with a slight chance. But again, time is as the scores get higher, they get less and less points to close this gap. But back to a situation where they're going to need to get this one and then get 2 more breaks back.
The other game is also 11-8. Germany up over Great Britain. If you want to go for the dual screen, have the VO up on one monitor, the live commentary and camera operators here on the main showcase field. And there was debate about which of these 2 quarterfinals will be closer, but so far both providing a good spectacle.
Yeah, 2 identical games. Both teams that started on offense got broken, and the team that started on defense is up 11-8 in both games. So again, I guess that's a credit to the Czechs. They've brought their A game here, and it's not that the Italians have been giving them too many opportunities.
Lepshi, well, has to go backwards, and
I think he kicked it up to himself.
Tlusti, again, wanting to run that dribbling offense he seems so good at. You can see Italians just trying to keep an eye on Tlusti as there. He finds another pocket of space, just so good for this Czech side. As he's now tearing his way down the field. Has to go backwards this time, but wants it back again. Good effort from the Italian defense. Now a nice shot to the break side. Italy overcommitting on 1 or 2 bids, but they are doing their best to get the block. Lepshi might have to go backwards here, and he does on that occasion. That's a couple of times Italy have forced them backwards. Now losing about 25 meters here, the Czechs, but they make it back up with a high release flick. Not a lot of options coming downfield, and just wrestling his way into the reset space is Lepshi. Wants it the inside shot, it's not there. It's time to go all the way around. Feel they get this continuation shot to the break side, might help them out a bit. Another high release flick. Weapon of choice in this possession. Going for the round backhand now. That one is low, but dug out of the dirt is Tlusti, showing his worth yet again.
Yeah, great work there by the Czech offense. I know a couple of times they went backwards, but I think that's definitely the best passage of play I would say I've seen from them. And it wasn't a case of the Italians making it easy. They had to work hard. I didn't really like when they were going backwards so much on the dumps. I'd like to see more aggressive attacking up line, but they unlocked a couple of, I think it was a couple of high release flicks there by Lepsi, kind of taking it back with the breaks. Nicely weighted throws, and the Czechs can continue to play like this when they have the disc. I do think they will get a couple of chances before the end of this game, and whether they can just get that extra step to get in front of the Italian players and get the block, that remains to be seen. But obviously there's enough time left in the game that they're going to get situations where they can get blocks. I'm not sure they'll get enough turns to actually get enough break chances, but they're going to put themselves in enough positions to be in positions to get those blocks. So a very tall order, but that offensive point was the best I've seen them look. And I'm sure there's no real pressure on their defense. It's just when they have the disc, that's where the pressure is when it comes to the Czechs right now.
Around 24 minutes left in this game until the time cap goes. you'd maybe expect it to get to 15 with Italy already at 11. But if Czech Republic were to mount a comeback, might shorten things up. A short pull again from Czech Republic, giving Italy good field position. Totti. PV. Going with his forced backhand again. Not sure how I feel exactly about it, but a lofty backhand put. Totti trying to chase it down, and he's been doing that all game. We have to take a quick look and see how many goals he scored in this one so far. It's been non-stop. That is his 5th goal of the game. Tommaso Totti.
Yeah, just excellent throw there by the offensive player. The stall was getting high. Credit to the Czech defense to stop the unders and force the deep shot. But if you look at the angle he puts on this throw, it's basically undefendable for the receivers. And his player is able to run it down. Again, like I said, if you're the Czechs, those are the little things you need to just go out of the reach of the Italians. I can't see a situation where the Czechs are going to come back into this game if the Italians are getting out of those situations. This is kind of the exact situation you're hoping for, and you're hoping maybe that you can see here just how good that throw is. There's 2 defenders in the area, but neither of them has a bid. And again, this is just a case of the Italians just showing that they have that little bit extra quality. They're completing these ones where maybe the Czechs are just missing a disc they should maybe catch, or just having a bit of a bobble that they need to avoid. And that's the difference when you get to the high level.
What I appreciate from Italy is they play a lot of small ball and possession offense, but if you put them under pressure and ask them to make the difficult throw, a lot of the time they can't execute it, and they did it there. Totti didn't have a huge amount of space or separation, but the way that inside-out backhand went, it was curved around the defender and very difficult for any defender to stop that. We've seen him as well how the one-pass offense, the flick hook, we're kind of bait into that. Every time Czechs have asked questions of their deep game, they've had answers. Better pull this time. Slow to get it going, and again, Italy like to kind of sag in the lane when the disc is in the middle of the field. Take away the deep shots for Czech Republic. I think they really want to keep this O-line on the field for a long time, even if they don't necessarily get the break, but it kind of prevents sometimes the Czech players crossing over. You just tire them out, make them run, make it a long offensive point. It becomes difficult for the Czechs to cross over. And again, this kind of passive defense at time, a lot of sagging. Does look like match defense downfield, and there's a shot through the middle, opening up space. Puts that backhand back in the holster. And again, we see quite a flat force, a lot of face guarding from Italy. Does well to shut down the reset. It's getting high in the stock count. A trust throw, but wasn't put out in the space. Now some great hander defense from the Italians to force that situation. Now a wayward pass. Well gathered up though. I think there might be an injured player. I believe that's Slusty. And Slusty is injured. That'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think it might
for the Czechs.
potentially be a cramp. It looked like he was about to take flight to go for a bid and pulled out, and it almost caused the Italian players to give up, because I think maybe he got injured and he just wasn't able to block that disc. But again, here the Italians in a situation here. I think if they get this break, it's.
Is that his sister there? Is that Christina that just ran onto the field?
Yeah, I believe she came on and just. I think she got here today, and obviously both Czech teams in great positions at this tournament. So it's not a. Lives on this side of the Czech part of the Czech part of the country, the Czech side, Slovakian border area. Although I believe she's living in Prague at the moment, but
she's living in Amsterdam, is she not?
I think she's playing with Groot, but I think it's more of just playing outside the Czech Republic.
I'm not sure if that is Christina.
She's definitely here at the
Okay.
tournament. I've seen her today, but not sure if that was her that ran across though. But
That'd be a massive loss for the Czech Republic. Not sure if that was just cramp.
yeah, it looked like he was going to bid and get a block and pulled out. But again, I think here this point here could define the game. If you're the Italian side, that is. If the Italians score here, I think our viewers might start to decide to switch to the other stream. But again, not over yet.
You can definitely watch both. And sure, why not? Going around the house now, Italy. Gusi trying to want to give go with Boni. Nice around backhand. Continued down the break side. Fantastic flow from the Italians. Giacomo Gusi gets the goal for Italy, and now a lot for the Czech side to do. You feel this one is really slipping away from them.
Yeah, I think just given the kind of bit of a gap between these two teams and now the gap in the score, I find I don't really think there's too many situations where I can see the Czechs coming back here. Maybe if the Italians were somewhat more of an inconsistent side and had a couple more things that they did where maybe they give you more chances, but I think the Czechs would have to get nearly more breaks here than they've got turns almost against the Italian O-line so far. And again, the Italians need 2 more scores to take game, and the Czechs are going to have to go on a 6-1 or a 6-0 run to take this game, and I just can't really see that happening. But they're not going to give up yet. If there's one time you want to keep fighting right till the end, it's when you've made your first quarter final in a couple of seasons. I think the coach told me I asked him when was the last time the Czechs made a quarter final, and he said the last one that counted was maybe about 13 years ago. They have made, I think, a quarter final in recent seasons, but he also pointed out the fact that potentially there might have only been 8 teams at that tournament. So he rightly stated the last time they made a deserved one was a long time ago. So again, a tough situation for the Czechs to be in here, but we have to remember that in recent seasons they haven't been overly competitive, and perhaps slightly, if they had scored 1 more point on the first day of the tournament, they might be over there playing against Germany or GB, and they've already beaten the Germans, and the Germans are beating GB 12-8 right now. So again, just the small margins, but I think however this game ends for the Czechs, they can be happy with the progress that the junior team has made in recent seasons, because at times they've looked fantastic, and obviously I've been watching them a bit more closely than some of the other teams, but they've even had 1 or 2 points in this game where you say that looks as good as any team we've seen this tournament so far. So
Definitely the top 7 or 8 are as good as any team here. Maybe they don't have the same depth. Just probably unlucky to end up in this quarterfinal against Italy, and more to Italy's fault. I think Italy a bit of a surprise to get booted down. I think the Czechs would have given Belgium a run for their money.
yeah, and again, had they scored 1 more, they lost 14-13. The Czechs did to Switzerland on day 1 when they had a 13-11 lead. Had they won that, they'd be over there potentially playing against maybe GB right now.
And if GB had beaten Belgium, they were on universe point game. GB had this several times. They wouldn't be playing Italy in this game right now. They'd be playing,
I think Belgium, yeah.
it would have been Belgium. So
and again, just I personally actually would have thought Italy maybe is a better matchup for them, but the coaching staff seemed a bit disappointed that they ended up getting the Italians. So I'm going to trust they know their players better than I do.
The Italian side is definitely, I would say, deeper as well. Let's see what Czechs can do. I don't think I see Zalusti. No, Simon Zalusti is on the field, so happy to see him back out there. Doesn't seem as involved as he usually is, and maybe just nursing a little bit of an injury. Now we see him cutting towards the break side, looking for that continuation flow. It is there, and that is a beautiful shot. So picking his moments to shine, and they had the nice offensive hold, using that break side very well.
Yeah, I think he wanted to maybe delay his involvement to throw the critical pass there. He hits Milan Falta, Trieste speed player that I know quite well. And again, that's all they can really do right now is just slot in their own points and try and get some pressure on the defense. Again, the first part is done, and now they just got to try and get this run of the century going on. But it would be far from the biggest comeback in in EYUC history in terms of a scoreboard, but maybe in terms of a performance, you could rank it right up there if they were to come back from this. But again, it's juniors. You don't want to have your heads down now. If you want to feel sorry for yourself or have a little cry or whatever, do it after the game. But right now, just put everything you have into this game. Many of these players will never get to play under 20s again. Some might never even make it on national teams again. You don't get here this often. You don't get these many chances. So hopefully they know this, and that the coaches are just telling them, hey, just push on. Nothing to lose.
dare to dream. This Czech side still clinging on to hope, and it all starts with a good pull as that one comes blading in, taken from the back of the end zone and marched close to the front, looking for an inside shot. Sits down as he releases that forehand. Vandelli slowly marching up the field. Not a lot of options downfield, and goes with that nice inside throw to make some yards in the handler space. They're so good at that. Bonifazzi again attacking that inside lane. It is great continuation cuts from Italy. Cavaletti finishes that one off, but that was just silky smooth offense from Italy. Really aggressive on the break side throws. A lot of inside forehands to open up the field, and when they get that flow along the break side, the Italians so hard to stop.
Yeah, the Italians doing a great job there of working the underspace and perhaps stacking a little bit deeper to make those cuts easier into the underspace. It allows them to cut under, fake their defender a little bit deep, and go back under again. And I think maybe it's a tricky spot for the Czechs, because you kind of want to encourage the Italians to shoot deep, but you also know that they only need to get one or two more. They only need to score two more to end up winning it. So you have to try and generate blocks now. You can't just hope for mistakes. The time for hoping Italians just make mistakes and give you the disc was earlier in the game. And right now it's just got to be about putting on the pressure and saying, do you know what? If I'm the person who's just going to get beaten deep for the score or getting beaten to that front corner, so be it. But there's no more time to play scared. You just got to get in there and hope for the best. And they're going to be hoping they can come out here and score this 0 point and at least give themselves the chance to go on the run. But the Italians here will obviously be looking to take this game and end it with a break and maybe go and try and get a slightly earlier finish to the day.
So game point, Italy coming out on defense here. They'd love to go for an early shower. Have a look at some of the highlights of the game. Totti's been so good for Italy. And there's been a little contact from both sides, but these young lads are tough and not too bothered by it. Some great defensive play. They'd love to end it here on defense. The Italians, Zaluski will be disappointed he didn't come down with one or two more of those deep shots. They needed to pretty much come down with every single one of those to be in a shot, I think.
Yeah, again, Czechs here going to want to look to get this one. One or two people asked what I thought before the game. I said I thought on average maybe something close to 15-10 might be the score. So hopefully I'm wrong here. I would like to see if the Italians are going to win this, that they don't, from a Czech perspective, I would like to see that they at least don't finish with a break to end it. I'd like to see the Czechs finishing strong here and maybe doing a bit better than I thought they would. And again, they just didn't have the start they needed. The Italians got ahead at the start, and it's just been trying to play catch up ever since. And again, it's very hard to catch up against a team that potentially has a higher top speed than you.
So the Italians with 1 foot in the semi-final, but the Czechs on offense now, do or die for them. Have to score to keep their tournament dreams alive. Nice forehand to open things up. The sun now low in the sky. This last round game, and wayward pass, well collected. Keeping it alive, Zizka has such good around backhand. Maciek looking for Zizka again. A brilliant breaking of the mark here for the Czechs. Schlusty still giving it his all. That a dangerous pass. Who caught it first is the question that's being asked.
I think the Italian player maybe had the inside line. I know normally in these situations the Czech player ends up with it, but given the lines they had, I think this is one of those ones where maybe the Italian might have had a chance to get there first. Too hard to see it on that
very
one.
hard to tell in the replays we're looking at.
I think usually when it ends up this close, it's very hard. Sorry, it's very hard to pick it as we're here surrounded by a bunch of Italian players. I think the fact that we can't fully tell here on the replay for sure means that the Italians tell them here contested. So
Yeah, we only get the replays in regular time. It's too hard to tell. And we're seeing a slow-mo now. I can see where the Italian man is coming from, Boney. He has an inside line, and you maybe think that he has a good argument, but it's when you're looking at real time, you can't tell. It's often going to be contested. Lusty rises to the occasion, looking to punch it in, and finds the inside channel and the head spike, and the Czechs live to fight for another point.
yeah, good composure there at the end, just to stay calm and work hard and get that score. And again, yeah, I think with that one, I thought the Italian player maybe had the inside line, but when it's that close, it's very hard to tell. And again, I think a contest is probably a fair one there. It's so hard. We watched the replay 1 or 2 times and we couldn't tell for sure. So I don't think there's much point in the players spending too long on it. But now it's a situation where the Czechs have to go on a run and get a couple of breaks in a row. Starting with the first one slightly downwind, and not impossible, but highly unlikely.
The sun is setting on the showcase field here as the hopes and dreams of the Czech Republic starting to fade. Still a glimmer.
Yeah, like we said, you can worry about it, what happened after. Right now, if you're on the field, your job is just to try and get one more point. And again, in the other game, 13-8 to the Germans. So
39 now, I'm seeing.
13-9, yeah, sorry. And
I'm ahead of you. I'm one step ahead of you, John. That a fantastic pull. Rolling towards the back corner. That was a dangerous fielding of the centering pass. And a Czech player being aware there could have been a Callahan there, but living life on the edge. The Italians, that a better throw. Staying patient here. Potential for a deep shot to Laffy, but then Totti grinds at the unders. He's been working so hard. Wants to just reset it now. Vandelli. Coast to coast to Laffy. Nice inside shot and a stumble and a break pass. And the Italians book their ticket to the semi-finals. Hands are on the knees of the Czech side, and Laffy and a few others go to, congratulate them and shake hands. It was a hard battle for them. They're really upset. The Czechs, I think they had high aspirations in this tournament and just maybe a little unlucky to come up against Italians at this stage. They'll be relegated to the finals. Italy very much alive in this open division matchup. They will play France. It's going to be a blockbuster tomorrow in the semi-finals. Still yet to find out who the other semi-finalists will be in the other side. Quick thoughts, John.
yeah, again, first of all, congratulations to Italy. We'll see them again tomorrow, and then commiserations to the Czechs. I think this is a tough loss to take, and then I think if they look at the other quarter-final, they'll feel even more unlucky to see the Germans, who they were able to beat already, or the team that are going to progress to the semis. But again, it's been a tough, not the best few seasons before this, but a really strong performance by the Czechs here. And I think if they can go on and finish 5th here, they can take a huge amount of positives away from this tournament. There's no shame in losing to this Italian side, for the Italians to be the team that knocked you out of the event. So great performance by both teams, and look forward to watching the rest of their games.
Congratulations to Italy. We'll leave it there, folks. Me and John Dock are going to go watch the Brits lose to Germany. You can also do the same if you switch over to the video stream. Everyone's going to enjoy that. Just kidding. We're just going to catch the rest of that. But a congratulations to Italy, hard luck, Czech Republic, and we will catch you tomorrow.
From a workshop in Bordeaux to Ultimate Fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed with your team's identity in mind. Force Ultimate, built to perform,